Any good stories from the road?
Pipe up.
I wish we'd gotten to see a little bit more out of our punter.
I'm starting to puke.
It makes my stomach hurt.
I thought he was going to die.
I'm starting to throw up in my mouth a little bit.
He's on the probiotics.
Is Georgia playing the 1985 Bears this weekend or what?
A lot of Todd talk.
Rat poison proof.
They're mongoose.
We will not be hunted at the University of Georgia. I can promise you that. The hunting that we do will be done from us going the other direction.
Well, this is the game that we've been looking forward to for, it feels like the whole season now, guys. Jake Rowe, Palmer Toms, back from Duval County. Guys, let's just start right there. Georgia got the big 42-20 win over the Gators, and now we can finally talk in earnest about Georgia taking on Tennessee.
Yeah, stub toe there in the third quarter. Otherwise, a dominant performance from Georgia. I mean, you look at the first two quarters, you look at the final quarter, I believe you would find a 35-3 beatdown in those quarters. You look at the third quarter, and Florida won that one 17-7. So, Georgia's got to figure out a way to play its best football when its best football is needed. And what I mean by best is clean, because when Georgia plays clean football, I said this on stat on the post game last night, Wes. 9 turnovers this season, 8 of them have come in the 3 games where Georgia has given up at least 20 points. The only competitive stretches of Georgia's 2022 schedule this year have come when they've turned the ball over. I think Tennessee can be competitive, turnover or not. I think Tennessee will spank Georgia's behind if Georgia gets out there and goes -2 or -3 in the turnover margin. And that's the story. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. Tennessee's got some questions it's got to answer. Listen, I know Rocky Top's buzzing, and I've enjoyed watching that team. I really have. I've enjoyed watching, the excitement they bring to the table, but Tennessee hadn't done it quite like it's going to have to do on Saturday, road, crazy environment. Assuming Georgia doesn't fumble the opening kickoff and take the crowd out of it like LSU did. But really ready for this one. Ready for it.
Yeah. Like Jake said, those 3 quarters compared to the 1 quarter, 2 completely different teams, and Georgia is still looking to play a complete game. I think, I asked, in Rest and React and kind of thought about this.
How much rest did you get, Palmer?
Say what?
How much rest did you get?
Well, I'll confess. I wrote the Rest and React before I went to bed. Jake was asleep, so there was no rest. It was strictly reaction.
It was react, huh?
It was a sleep deprived reaction. I must confess, but
it's all good.
Yeah, wanted to get that done before we hit the road today, and that drive back from Jacksonville. Not sure, spotty connection here and there, so figured best to just knock all the work out last night and relax in the car. But I did write in that Rest and React. When was the last time Georgia played a 4-quarter game? Played strong for all 4 quarters. I think you're probably going back to.
Okay, how about South Carolina? South Carolina? I haven't gone back and looked at that box score in a while. Was that a full 4th quarter effort? Oregon?
I don't think so. I mean, I would probably go back to Oregon because
maybe Vanderbilt. 55.
Yeah, I did say, that game withstanding. When do you think the last time Georgia played 4 quarters was? And I think it was South Carolina. So I think it was Oregon. That game was in September. Georgia's next game is in November. We're talking about, 2 completely different teams now. Georgia is still in search of a complete game here. And like Jake said, they're going to need to play their best and it's on the biggest stage. Kirby Smart said after that Kent State game, one of those games in between here, that if they do turn the ball over several times, like they did then, like they did yesterday, you're going to find out and figure out how, it's that F around, find out, F around, figure out scale right there.
Georgia, people figure out. People will figure out. Yeah, you don't want to figure out the bad way, the hard way.
If they F around and they turn the ball over, they're going to figure out, and there's a price to pay. that price is greater the better quality team you play. And, they're certainly playing one of the best teams on Saturday. So that
they're
you
really
can't
good.
be making those mistakes.
They're really good. Our followers are even better though. And if you want to join the crew, go ahead and hit subscribe on the DawgsHQ YouTube channel. It's a red button down there in the bottom right corner of this YouTube channel, whether you're watching it live or watching on a replay. This show is among our most popular things that we do, other than Kirby Smart's press conferences every given week. So appreciate y'all keeping the comment section hot. Uncle Glenn Hartley, Andy Stowe, Tomahawk Dog carrying their load tonight. Bunch of go dogs in there. Andy Stowe says Georgia should have won 55-10. Tomahawk Dog, I actually beat Uncle Glenn. Dumb luck. I saw that really quickly. I thought I was going to have to censor the comment there. But no, it was all in good fun with Tomahawk Dog. And Tomahawk Dog also saying that it's going to take a lot of bad to take the Georgia crowd out. And Kirby Smart urging Georgia's crowd. I'm going to pull up the tweet here, but he said, if your voice is still intact by the end of this Georgia-Tennessee game, then you haven't yelled enough. Guys, when you think about Georgia home crowds, this game coming up historically could be the biggest ever at Sanford Stadium.
It should be one of the best ever. I mean, that's just all there is to it. It should be one of the best ever because this is a game that you don't really get to see played in your home stadium very often. I mean, it's just you got such a small chance of playing it, period. Then you've got the whole 50-50 from there to figure out whether you get, or not even 50-50, 33% chance of whether you're going to play it at a neutral site, home or away. I mean, it's just, guys, this is going to be 1 versus 2. Like, it's going to be 1 versus 2. I believe that. I mean, I'm talking, but those rankings won't get cited anymore. I mean,
right.
That's, the college football rank is going to be it. And I honestly think Georgia's going to be number 2 in its own home stadium.
Yep.
And Georgia should, I mean, listen, if you're a Georgia fan, you need to be down on one knee, doing the end zone prayer that the guys used to do to the football gods. If that happens, if Tennessee gets ranked number 1 and Georgia's number 2 coming into this game, that'll add an extra chip to Georgia's shoulder. Guys, I can't wait for it. Like, I'm so excited just to go ahead and see it happen. Just because I know that I'm going to get to see a rare football game inside Sanford Stadium, and I'm glad we get to see it. And I know this is a complete aside. Okay, they're changing the press box at Sanford Stadium. Okay, here in the next 2 or 3 years, and we're going to kind of be in the corner. We're still on the 50, buddy.
Yeah, right now y'all have the suite view.
Yeah,
and I mean SUITE and SWEE.
Yeah, we have that open air 50-yard line club level suite.
It's gonna be loud.
It's gonna be crazy, and I'm really excited about it. And listen, Tennessee's got all my respect. I don't know who I'm gonna pick in this game. I really don't. Tennessee's got all my respect. Yeah. I think Tennessee can shell shock Georgia on Saturday. I really believe it can, and I can't wait to get into this game and look a little bit more at Tennessee than what I've seen in real time. But this to get back to the crowd, this doesn't happen every day, and Georgia fans need to relish it, and then they need to do their part because that's what can help Georgia win this game. If you don't think Tennessee was helped winning last night against Kentucky, or was helped to beat Alabama that way, or Florida that way, you're sadly mistaken. Neyland came rocking, and Georgia fans are probably going to do the same.
Neyland is back. When you look at the matchups from the last few years, Arkansas comes in. That was a top 10, top 15 matchup, I want to say.
10. They were number 8.
Noon game.
But that was early in the day, okay?
But the crowd showed up. That was nasty. I mean, I watched that from television.
And then Notre Dame a few years ago with the light show was huge, but that wasn't a top 5. I mean, this is top 2, top 3, like y'all said. That hasn't happened since 1983 when Auburn came to Athens, and Auburn actually got the win. But this matchup will be even higher than that. And when you look at that Notre Dame crowd, that's what I'm referring to, and that's what I'm kind of leaning on for Georgia's crowd. That's what I expect. And over the past decade, the past 15 years, I don't know that Sanford has necessarily been that crowd. It's not necessarily been that stadium where people feared coming into play. Have Georgia's teams given the crowds a lot of reasons to be loud? Absolutely. That LSU game in 2013 is one that a lot of people say was the loudest they can remember. And
yeah, that's the one I was thinking about.
I think so too. But this could be something else. Yeah,
Clemson 14 got a little crazy too. That one was, but I do think that Georgia's crowds have affected opponents.
No
it
doubt.
wasn't even a marquee matchup, but it was a full house. It was a full house in 2016 when Auburn rolled in, ranked I believe number 9 in the country, went out, beat Alabama, get into the SEC championship game. Maybe they're in the playoff picture. Georgia beats them in a 13-7 game or 13-10 game. Something like that. Got a pick 6 from Maurice Smith.
Yep.
That one was crazy too. I remember the 14 Georgia Auburn game when Todd Gurley came back, ran back the opening touchdown. It got called back. That was probably one of the most electric moments in the history of that stadium. That Georgia should have some more of those moments, win or lose, on Saturday.
Let's take a look back at Florida before we get too far ahead of ourselves. We will obviously bang this Georgia-Tennessee drum a lot this week coming up on our Wednesday show and all the content y'all put out on DawgsHQ.com. But Tomahawk Dog asking for an update, or updates, I should say, on Nolan Smith, Darius, Marius Mims, other injuries. We'll hear from Kirby on Monday. But what are any of the early indications y'all have on some of those?
No surgery for Marius Mims. It's not, from what I understand, a major structural injury. I mean, he may miss a few weeks, but when I say major, I'm not talking about, we're talking about a season or two from now in terms of, spring, summer, fall before he's able to return. He should be back before the end of the season. Again, no surgery. Not hearing such great things on Nolan Smith, though. I did say after the game that looked more precautionary. As of right now, I don't have a confirmation on what exactly he's dealing with. But based on what I'm hearing, I do expect him to miss multiple games, and that includes the Tennessee game. And honestly, that's a big one. That is a massive blow for Georgia. It is going to need to get some guys like Marvin Jones and MJ Sherman and Chaz Chambliss and Robert Beal ready to play a high number of snaps this coming week, maybe Michael Williams as well, if Nolan Smith is unable to go. And right now, I would say he's probably not going to play against Florida. I don't have anything up on Darius Smith. I have not heard anything on him. But, hopefully we'll get to talk to Kirby tomorrow and we'll get a full rundown of injuries. But Georgia did get Jalen Carter back, and I was very interested to see Palmer's story tonight. 20 snaps for Jalen Carter in his first game back. He hadn't played that many snaps since the season opener, guys.
Yeah, that's more than I think any of us expected.
Blew my mind. What a warrior. And dude, I was watching some extended highlights before we came on the podcast. I don't know if you noticed, I think it was second play he got in the game. He got a pressure. Anthony Richardson dumps it off to a running back. Jalen Carter chases him for 30 yards. It's
wow.
He's back in there. Some Kirby talks about the hunted. Some dogs that hunt, man, they only know one speed, and it seems like Jalen Carter might be that kind of guy.
I saw the play Stackhouse had too, a hustle play on Richardson.
Yeah, I'd love to know his GPS, mileage traveled on that play.
Yeah, no doubt.
He ran around the whole field.
I'll add this on that Nolan injury. Just in terms of how big it is. It's not just big on the field. It's big from a leadership standpoint too, because this is a guy that has been a vocal leader, an emotional leader for this team, for this defense, and an older guy on a group of young guys on that side of the ball. It's going to be big. And I think look at this as an opportunity for, a Jamon Dumas-Johnson to step up as a leader. Already is a big leader, but to take another step. A Jalen Carter coming back off of that injury. He's not necessarily known for being a big vocal leader, but maybe he sees his impact that he had this past Saturday. Knows that Nolan isn't there and takes it upon himself to step up as a leader. And a guy like Robert Beal, we've talked about him, Big Beefy, as the team refers to him. Just these guys understand, Nolan especially, having talked to him after a lot of these games, they understand that their days are limited in Athens. These guys, I mean, Beal being a super senior, this is his last year. He doesn't have another year of eligibility, even if he wanted it. Nolan Smith, he's going to the draft after this year. These guys know how many days that they have left. They know how many games they have left, and they understand that the opportunities to get in front of a crowd like this at Sanford Stadium are limited. So I think that you're gonna see you're gonna see some players come out and play passionate on Saturday, and I would hope that Robert Beal would be one of those getting a bigger opportunity.
Yeah, it's this game and it's the Tech game. I mean, how many more opportunities you think you're going to get to do something special? Certainly not a crowd like this one. Staying in that Florida game, guys, the injuries, not an ideal outcome for Georgia in the game. It's not what you wanted going in or coming out of that one. How about Stetson Bennett? Speaking of guys that don't have a lot of opportunities left with the G on the helmet, I chopped wood about it last week, and I still – it's just a ceiling and floor thing with Stetson, right? The floor has got to be higher in these games where they need it to be higher. The ceiling, as Michael Jordan said, the ceiling is the roof on Stetson Bennett. It's crazy some of the throws he can make, his ability to scramble and weasel out of some of these pressures. But if his floor is where it was against Florida, I just don't know if Georgia's getting everything it needs to get in a matchup like Tennessee. Maybe I'm just being too pessimistic.
No, Wes, I see what you're saying. And I mean, you're right. It's just, my thing is like I always try to go back and look at Stetson because golly, some squirrely stuff just happens when he's at quarterback. It seems like it happens so often.
It happens so fast too.
Yeah, it does.
They move so fast.
You look down at the box score and you see a 300-yard passer and you see 2 touchdowns, you see 2 interceptions. You realize that one of those interceptions was not even remotely his fault.
I wrote in the recap of last night's quick hitter show that his stat line was an actual metaphor. Like he was 50% completions, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. One of the touchdowns was fluky. One of them was well designed. One of his picks was fluky, and one of them was a legit pick. Like it was the ultimate Jekyll and Hyde stat line.
It was, and then you throw on top of it, he had 2 or 3, probably 3 drops. He probably had 3 balls that maybe could have been picked. It kind of all balances out to kind of a very average, not great, not bad game. Ultimately, I just think as long as the floor is not throwing interceptions or putting the football on the ground, I think Georgia's fine. I mean, I think we've learned that is, again, you go out there you go against Kent State and you turn it over 3 times, you beat them by 17 points and never really was super competitive. You go to Missouri, you turn it over twice. Both times, kind of giving it to Missouri in plus territory, I believe. Big deal. Can't do that. And then you go to you do the same thing as Florida, basically turn it over twice in 1 quarter, 10 points off of that. See, that's where it comes in is like you can control, kind of an aspect of taking care of the football. And if you respect the football, then you don't compound problems. You don't give a team another chance to catch you in a busted coverage like Florida did and do that. And so I think, when you put it all together, Georgia has to take out those momentum builders that it's giving to other teams in primarily just the 3 games that it's, been the most competitive or seen the most sweat, basically. And if it can do that, it's going to be just fine. It's just a matter of, can Stetson take the turnovers off of his floor? And if he can, then I think Georgia's going to be, Georgia's going to win. Georgia's going to beat Tennessee, but you just can't really bet on that. You don't know which one's going to show up, and you've seen how poorly this team can respond to turning the ball over. Not that the defense just plays poorly every time it gets turned over. 2 of the times, I mean, they allowed nothing, a field goal, and a touchdown. So they did a little bit of everything after the turnovers.
Well, that was kind of the thing. that reared its head was just the aspect of it being a rivalry game. Look at how much everything changed after that 4th down by penalty when Bear Alexander ran into AR-15 last night. I mean, that was the wildest turn of events after that. That's when the cocktail party really got weird.
It did.
Well, speaking of Stetson Bennett and Brock Bowers, let's take a look at our friends at Breaking Tea. They got some pretty sweet deals going on over there. We mention them every week because we trust them. We like what they're doing. And we know that they are creating pretty solid product. If you need a new Georgia t-shirt, I know there's only a few games left. You might be looking for something to put under the tree. Might be looking for something this holiday season. Maybe you need a new shirt in time for Thanksgiving. I don't know. Maybe that's what you want to do. You want to show up with the new Georgia gear for the family gathering around the table. It's all there for you. Stetson, Brock, Chris Smith, and the Big O, who will definitely want to have a better game against Tennessee than he had against Florida. Check out the link in the episode description of this show. How about Brock Bowers' catch, guys? Holy smokes. Some people were saying it was lucky. I've watched it. I've watched the loop of it at least, I'd say at least 50 times. And I don't even know if that's like consciously paying attention to it, but my eyes have seen it loop that many times. And I'm just impressed. And I know it's slowed down, but I'm impressed with how he is focusing on that thing the whole time. I mean, there are a lot of guys who would drop that or not even have the awareness to turn their heads around to look for it.
Yeah, there was definitely a little bit of luck there. Just to have the ball bounce, and end up in a spot where, if it bounces in a different way, he's not able to get to it and catch it. It could have turned into an interception, which would have been unfortunate for Georgia, an unfortunate break for Stetson.
Yeah, I do think a better defender picks that pass for sure.
Right. And so, yeah, there certainly was an element of luck, but there also was some skill involved in it. Like you said, the concentration, the ability to, understand that, hey, I've got to turn this way to get back to the ball because it just bounced this way. It's special. I mean, we've talked about that guy not being human. That was a freakish play.
Yeah. And I'll push back on the should have been picked thing because, Stetson's sitting there and I kind of watched this play over and over again early this morning. You're watching the quarterback's looking at a guy who's got his back turned to him and he's taught, one-on-one coverage. You throw it right at that back of that guy's head. Now, Bernie got his head around, I think, while the ball was in flight. And he got his head around just in time enough to get one hand up. Yeah. Okay. So, and listen, I get it. Gary Danielson said it, if he could have got both hands on it, well, if my aunt, right. I mean, I get it, but
Gary does like to deal in the hypotheticals.
Golly, doesn't he though? And I do like Gary, probably more than most. But if you're looking at this from a mechanic standpoint, you're looking at this from the quarterback standpoint. Okay, the quarterback's standing back there. He's looking at Brock Bowers on the wheel route. Guy who's covering Brock Bowers has his back turned to him. Stetson uncorks one. Okay, that's one of the maybe underrated parts of that play is Stetson. I mean, I'm talking about he
had some zip.
I mean, he put some zip on it. He took a button off and just went bananas. And so he goes in and Bernie turns around and he's only able to get one hand up at that time because the ball's on him so quick and makes a good play. I mean, makes a heck of a defensive play. It's just a matter.
And if he's it's almost shorter or an inch taller, the ball doesn't glance off his helmet perfectly for Brock either.
It's almost like, I mean, it was similar to the prayer at Jordan-Hare. Like, I mean, everybody wants to talk about bat it down. Wasn't even really a Hail Mary situation. Obviously, you don't want to tip it up. But, it's not like that was the most horrible defensive play ever made by Josh Harvey Clemens to come all the way over there and do what he did on that play. It just happened that way. And it was just flukish. And that touchdown was flukish. That interception was flukish. And, I mean, maybe it all evened out. Maybe it didn't. Georgia was definitely the better team on Saturday, though.
Well, and Kirby said it felt like a little bit of karma there. He cited the Darnell ball.
That pass should have been a touchdown too. Could have been.
Right.
Yeah, and man, you want to talk about the happiest man in the stadium, ex-Georgia Bulldog Jalen Kimber, because he was standing right there in the line of fire. Should Brock Bowers? Should Darnell Washington have caught that football?
Yeah, that's not the matchup you like. I don't like his chances there. We always do dog stocks on Sunday. We'll get to our dog stock Sunday in a minute, but in the comments right now, a couple offensive points that I don't want to glance over here. Andy Stowe wondering about the lack of called quarterback runs for Stetson. Maybe that's just a body preservation thing, but I'll let y'all handle that one. And then the Ladd McConkey. I mean, it is what it is. He's just not as sharp this season. I don't know how much there is to really say about it, but if y'all want to address either one of those two things or both of them.
Listen, I know Ladd's had some drops. I completely disagree with somebody needs his snaps. Hey, Ladd makes plays. He's got the most targets on this football team right now. And again, he's had some drops. I think 4, maybe 5 of them this year. He's muffed a punt, lost one. He's handled punts very well other than that one. I think he had another muff that he didn't lose. I think folks need to pump the brakes a little bit there. Ladd McConkey's still a very valuable piece of this football team who makes very big plays when Georgia needs them. And, he's one of Georgia's best outside weapons on this football team. There's just no two ways around it. So I do a simple answer on the Stetson thing, and I'll toss it to Palmer. But I honestly believe that was kind of a, hey, let's get out of this Florida game without getting Stetson hit very often. Let's see if we can get him out here. And honestly, huge development in that game. Stetson's jersey was clean, and that is massive.
It's huge
for the Tennessee game. So I think that was definitely by design, the lack of quarterback runs, and I think you'll probably see a few of them against Tennessee.
Yeah, the offensive line played well, so credit to them. For keeping Stetson's jersey clean, like you said, with a couple of design runs. He had a couple last year against Tennessee that worked out pretty well. Believe that he had his only rushing touchdown of the year against them. Could be wrong there. Going back to Ladd, but one more point on Stetson. I also would imagine that with him coming off of, some being a little bit banged up, having his shoulder, be hit around, you don't want to, deal with that. You don't want to, put him at a risk where, if he's getting hit, something could feel funky and he's not good to go. So definitely, not just for Tennessee, not just for this coming week, you want him healthy for the postseason. You want him healthy for this stretch run. So, Georgia's going to have to do, with the level of competition that they're playing this week, you can't save up anymore. You got to go, empty your bag of tricks here. So, they may have to run Stetson, but you definitely don't want to put him at risk. Quick note on Ladd, and I definitely do agree with Percy here that AD's presence makes it easier for Ladd. AD's presence makes it easier for everybody.
It makes it easier for everybody.
Yep. Did y'all notice how many snaps Ladd played?
I didn't take a look at it.
I believe he played 70, didn't he?
70.
Wow.
Is that just me, or is that insane for a wide receiver?
Yeah, that's incredible. And that's why Georgia needs Ladd McConkey. Everybody can complain about a drop. And listen, you don't need to be dropping passes. Darnell Washington dropped twice as many as Ladd.
Off game, yeah.
Okay. He dropped twice as many as Ladd. And that's two out of Darnell's last 2 games. He had one game with 30 or 45 yards worth of illegal blocking penalties, and he had another one with 2 drops. I don't hear anybody saying Darnell Washington shouldn't be in the game, okay? And they're not saying that because Darnell Washington, they remember the good plays that he made. Well, I remember Ladd punt returns against Auburn, punt return against Vanderbilt, making some plays against Florida. Ladd McConkey's fine. He's probably going to drop another pass or 2. But he's also a guy that separates and makes some third down catches and is one of the guys that kind of helps bail Stetson out sometimes.
Well, and when you're on the field as much as he is, just law of averages, you're bound to make more mistakes than somebody that's not on the field as much.
That's a good point too. More you're out there, more likely you are to screw something up. Guys, my dog stock is pretty simple. We already touched on it earlier in the show. I'm saying stock up on Sanford Stadium's crowd as being an SEC crowd that you need to fear. And there's no better time to put that on display than against Tennessee this week. Go ahead and get ready. It's like a total psychological all week preparation thing. Kirby Smart has given the crowd one job to do, and it's to be as loud as you can. And I think that scene between the hedges on Saturday, no matter what happens in the game, when it kicks off, it is going to be otherworldly in that stadium. And I don't know that Tennessee, this version of Tennessee, has seen anything like it. I'm not saying they're not ready for it. I'm not saying they're not a good team and it's going to knock them out of the game. But the facts are they played LSU while people were still eating breakfast jambalaya. This is going to be a 3:30 drinking your lunch through a bourbon and Coke straw in this crowd in Athens on Saturday. And it's not anything that the Vols have gone up against. This offense runs how it runs, spreads the field out. We get it, and we're going to get into that. And, we're going to get into whoever will replace Nolan Smith and how the Dogs can, find a way to rush the passer without him. We'll talk about that ad nauseum all week because I think it's storyline 1A. It is the most important thing. But the one thing that you can guarantee and one thing you can control if you're a Georgia fan is how loud it's going to be in there. And I can't wait to hear it. So stock up on Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium.
I fully expect madness, and I think Georgia fans are capable of it. I'm stock up on the city of Jacksonville because, hey, what, man? They're breaking out the big guns. I don't know. You see that right there?
I saw Seth Emerson tweeted out a pretty snarky tweet.
Here's the key to it though. Since 1933, okay, we know what this is all about. In Jacksonville, I'm for hire. Okay, I'm can be bought. I prefer cold hard cash, but I'll take this. I'll take that. I mean, I'd love a good polo or a computer bag. I'm good with those too.
Conrad Fink is rolling over in his grave.
For the podcasters, okay, I'm showing like a metal mug here right now that we got. I love it. I think it's nice. I haven't even used it yet, and I love it. Yeah, and not only that, Wes, I don't know how many times you went up into that press box at TIAA/Everbank/Gator Bowl.
I remember it always smelled like burning coffee beans because
they actually had edible food up there this time, Wes.
Oh, really?
It was not a soy Bubba burger or a red hot dog.
It wasn't just a bag of Oscar Mayer wieners.
Correct. Yeah. It wasn't a Lunchable this time or some sort of some of that individually wrapped cereal. It was actually like some pot roasting gravy and
cafeteria.
Whatever. I didn't eat it, but they had edible food up there. So city of Jacksonville bringing out the big guns, luring us the best way they know how with free gifts and food. Probably not going to help you. I'm not making a decision.
It's probably not going to help. Palmer, what's in your portfolio tonight?
Yeah, I'll go stock up on Georgia's defensive line. We talked about the impact that Jalen Carter had. Really, really think that we can't even express it enough. Just his ability to go out there and play 20 snaps really blew me away. Especially considering how doubtful it sounded that he was going to, be able to play from Kirby's tone earlier in the week. So for him to go out there, play 20 snaps, for him to push his way back to be with this team at a crucial stretch in the season, that said a lot to me about him. But also, as you look at, what this group has done without him, they've handled themselves pretty well. Warren Brinson, Zion Logue, Nazir Stackhouse, all playing 34-plus snaps and handling themselves very well. We've talked about Brinson on here quite a bit. Nazir Stackhouse had himself, one of his best games of his career on Saturday, led that defensive line in tackles, 5 tackles on the day, 2 solo, half a tackle for loss, quarterback hurry. So stock up on the Georgia D-line. And they're going to need this D-line to play very well because, everybody wants to talk about Tennessee's passing game. Well, they can run the ball very well too. And that's kind of what it gets the things going for them. It's their bread and butter. It's what Kirby Smart has talked about the most about this team. Said, I know you guys don't believe me.
You guys,
you don't believe him, but they do run the ball very well. And so Georgia's defensive line, Georgia's linebackers gonna have to play very well in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
man, I really can't wait to get into breaking down this game because you're talking about how well they run the ball, and you're not wrong. They do run the ball well, but they run it a lot. They run it a lot more than you think they do, but they're not as great as you think they are because they're under 5 yards a carry. They grind out a lot of tough yards, kind of loosen teams up, and kind of zig when defenses zag. Awesome chess match. Can't wait to talk more about it.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's smoke and mirrors, but it almost seems like when you look at Tennessee stats, for better or for worse for the Vols, there's some sort of caveat. Like their passing defense isn't that bad. They're just defending more passes. It's things we talked about with Georgia's defense in years past. It's like, well, why are they defending so many passes? It's like Palmer said.
And at the end of the day, you kind of got to pat the guy on the back that says that and say, you know what, your team's 8-0, buddy.
Yeah.
Your team's 8-0. Something's working, and we'll see what works between these two teams. But like you said, when you said it's not, I don't want to say it's smoke and mirrors. I just said, yeah, all you see is reflective glass and burning wood. So it's
something.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got their own way of kind of getting the smoke and mirrors things out there, but it's a fascinating offense. Not a whole lot of people run it. It's not like it's not a triple option type deal. It's not like you have to completely play something different. But we'll get into it later on. I would fans of the show, go watch some. Go watch a little something. Read up a little bit on Tennessee's offense. We're going to talk about it a little bit more probably on next show.
Yeah, Jake's giving you a little homework. Kirby Smart's giving y'all homework. Jake's giving you homework. You go ahead and get that lemon tea. Give yourself a little bit of pregame warm-up, kind of like you have the electrolytes before you go to the cocktail party. Kind of get your voice ready, get your vocal cords ready too, and maybe drink some electrolytes as well. We're working hard.
And if you need to pick me up, do caffeine, leave the meth alone, okay? Leave the methamphetamines
we don't endorse that here on the Georgia Show.
We do not endorse methamphetamines, and we don't not endorse them like Sam Pittman doesn't endorse beer. We don't use meth.
No.
You don't use it either.
No, it uses you.
Yeah.
So remember that. It's our PSA here on the Georgia Show at DawgsHQ. $1 for 1 year premium stories. This is free. Somehow the show's free. I think tonight's our best night of live streaming that we've ever had. So thank y'all for that. Go ahead and hit subscribe, but also hit subscribe on all the written exclusive material we have at DawgsHQ.com. These two guys are putting together a lot of actual fact-based stuff. I try to entertain with some jokes to lighten the mood just a little bit because these games can be kind of stressful. And then, of course, we have a ton of premium recruiting news as Georgia continues to stack up amazing recruiting classes year in and year out just to watch the guys that don't play very much transfer somewhere else, like Brenton Cox. What a tough night he had. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening each week, and thanks for keeping the comment section fun. Every Sunday night is a treat. We'll be back Wednesday night, as we are every week, 8:30 p.m. right here on the DawgsHQ YouTube channel. For Jake, for Palmer, I'm Wes. Y'all have a great week. We'll do it again soon. Biggest week we've ever known in Georgia football. Y'all take it easy.